Well, isn't that just wonderful? My lights just went out during a power outage. It just happened to just go boop, and now I have no power while I'm sitting down here. So let me ask you a question. What are you going to do when the power goes out of your house? Are you going to be sitting in the dark like this where you can't hardly see me? Or see yourself? Or see what you're doing in your house? What are you going to do when there's no water? Especially if you're on a well. Now, today, I'm going to show you some things. But hold on a minute. Let me get my lights on. Oh, there. Now I got my emergency lights back on. And actually, the lights that are down in my basement are reversible, so I can either run them on a uninterruptible power supply, or they just run on regular house power. So today, we're going to talk about emergency water systems. How to keep going during a power outage. One of the major things that we've had problems with as of late is the power just interrupting for no good reason. I mean, the weather's not bad. Not around here anyways. And so eventually it just, we've had some flickering, and I was telling you just last night, it just went poof, and it was off. So, how to keep yourself afloat when the power goes out. So, I got behind me here my water system for my home. So, let me get to that and show you what's going on. So, pardon my crude wall here. It's all cement down through here. And I had to build this wall to hold my plumbing stuff on. So basically what I did is I put a RV pump in my home. And this actually pretty much equals what you have on a well system, which is 5.5 gallons per minute. And it's 60 psi, so it pretty much equals what you have in your sink when you're on your well. Now, over here, as you see, the first thing that you see is the pump. And I put a pressure meter here, like you would get on a regular helm well, to see what the pressure is when I'm actually running water from another source. So as we go down the wall, here is the pressure tank. Now it's a little small one for an RV, but the nice thing is that you can put anything on this system that you want. Now down here is the water filter, and that's for sediment. Now to kind of come back to the pump here, to give you a little illustration of what's going on here, this is a filter that comes with the pump. Now, let me see if I can get my hand up here too and hold the camera all at the same time. So this thing right here is a strainer, and that strains out all sorts of junk. So what do I have going on here in my home? So down here, as we look at the water lines, this line right here comes up to the pump, so that's my water in. And this is my water out, and I have kind of a junction here. Let's see here. So right here is the T that I have going to other pipes. So one goes to the kitchen, and one goes to the bathroom. And I've got one up here too, because I wanted to actually get a line for down here. Now I don't need water down here, but I just wanted to use it so I could actually turn it on when I was doing testing things. And then I've got my water bucket over here. So how is this all powered? I mean, with RVs, it's powered up by a 12-volt battery or some sort of a power supply in the RV. And RVs are self-contained. So in my setup, it basically can do the same thing. It's it's interchangeable. I actually have a 30 amp 12 volt regulated power supply on mine, and I can just plug it right into my generator. Well, if I run out of gas during an emergency, I can always hook up a car battery and keep going. So let me show you some other things about my pump system. So right behind this wall is the actual power supply. Now I didn't really want to have to try to move this whole thing while I'm filming today, but that's just basically the wall here. And I'm not a carpenter, nor really a plumber, but I can, I know how to do the basic plumbing, and it doesn't take that much effort. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to do something like this, to be able to build it. And I've got the tools to build it, but like I said, it's kind of a cob job, and it looks like crap when you look at it from just you personally when you're looking at my setup. But on a camera, you might not be able to tell that so much. So let me show you what happens when I turn on everything. Now, right now, it's pressurized to 60 psi, and you can see that here. And when I get going for the house, now I've only got 3 rooms set up. So it's my kitchen sink, it's my toilet, and my wash machine. Now the wash machine is just for when there's a drought. Well, let me show you how this thing works. So here is my lever for my my pump for down here for turning this thing on and off. So when I open that up, it should just be straight up this way towards the water filter here. So when I turn it on, you'll hear it come on, and hopefully this stuff doesn't jump out of the bucket like a snake. I've done it before if I do it too fast. So there, now it's filling up. As you can see, there's a lot of pressure on it. Kind of hard to see it though. And I see when you see that. So anyhow, if I just shut this off, it will go right back up to the pressure where it's 60 psi and shut down. And that's the way it's supposed to work. Now, if you don't have one of these pressure pumps on there, or not pressure pumps, but excuse me, pressure tanks, it won't work too well. And I've tried it without the pressure tank. It's not, I mean, it's worth the money to shut the pump off. I've had it not shut down because it doesn't get enough pressure going through the long water lines that I have in my home. So let me get upstairs and start showing you some of the things in my kitchen. It's kind of hard to see here underneath the sink, but right here, let me get my hand out of here so we see if we can see it here. Hang on. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see. But anyways, I shut that off. Let me see if I can get a flashlight. Hang on one second. Alright, see, right here is the water lever. I just shut that off. That's the main line. And then over here is the emergency line. Now, it's kind of tough to see because even with the light, I got so much stuff back here. You can see that it has a bunch of things on it. Anyways, a lever for the sink. So I'm going to turn that thing on. And it's kind of hard to, you gotta kind of get the hoses out of the way so that you can turn the thing on. And there's a sprayer up here. So here, now the sink is back on the emergency system while the main line is off. And I don't know if I mentioned this a few minutes ago, but that other little clear thing that you see is called a one-way check valve, and I've got that set up on both lines, so the main water line and the line from the emergency water system. So let me turn on the sink. So in this sink there is no hot from the emergency water supply, and watch what happens here. See, it kind of gets kind of slow and then it goes back up again. You watch that. and then you turn it back on. See, it's as the pump makes the pressure, then it has more water coming out of your faucet. Just like you normally do when you have water coming out of your sink, when you're on your regular well water. So that is what that's doing. And let's check upstairs with the other water system I've got. So right here I'm in the back of the bathroom here. So there's the laundry room. And I've got my water line for the wash machine. Now that comes through down here. And right here is the toilet line. And I've got, and here's the main line right here. You can't hardly see it because they've got a little block there because it's mounting the pipe to it. But right here is the same kind of a thing where it's the check valve so that the main water supply to the house doesn't get mixed in with the water from the alternate water source. So let me show you the other area in our home where the bathroom is. Well, here's our toilet. And this is able to be flushed with the water from our home well, or from an alternate source. Now let me show you what we can do here with our water setup. So right here is the emergency water that I showed you in the back of the bathroom here. And on the bottom here, you can see this is where our main water supply comes in. And I had to buy the parts for the toilet. And this is actually just flex. This isn't even PEX. This is just vinyl. This is reinforced vinyl, so that I can run my 60 psi pump through it. Now, this thing right here is the main source of the water. So if we shut that off and turn this on, we can flush our toilet still. So watch this. Now the only thing with this pump I found is that the toilet tank fills up much slower than if it was on the regular well for our home. Now it doesn't really matter. All that matters is that the toilet just flushes and gets rid of all that stink. So let me show you how much quickly it flushes with the house water rather than the pond water. So when we come over here, shut this off, turn the main water supply back on, and then we can flush it again, and you can hear the tank how much faster it fills up. You can actually hear the water running in now. So that's how the toilet and the kitchen sink get flushed, or to get water. Well, the toilet gets flushed and the sink gets water to be able to, whatever you need to do, whether you need to drink or cook or what have you. So this is our washer machine line, and it's just cold. Like I said, there's no hot. So if you turn it on, you can get water coming out of that. So you can see it's filling up the bucket, and I don't have anything connected to it. Then you just shut it back off again. Yep, there. I have to push down on it. And then I've got a little cap here. It's just a little garden hose cap that I do to kind of protect it and keep it from leaking in the place when we're not using it. Shouldn't leak anyways, but that's what that does. And then I've got a hook here, right there. Kind of hard to see. All right, right there. And I've got it so when we aren't using it, you can just put it back up in place. and then there you go. But let me show you the water supply that I have. Now here I've just taken a trash can, and we use it for our water that comes off our roof. So I have it set up with, and I've set up a bunch of these. I got 3 trash cans that I use for water. So what I've done is, well, this is just kind of a temporary setup, but if you take this out, you can see that I've got a one-way check valve and strainer on this thing, so that it just keeps the dirt and grunge that's in this bucket, that you can see a little bit of it, from coming into the pump. And down here, I've got it set up so that you can actually hook up a garden hose. So this would be where, when the water is filled up to not even just right there, or up to the way top, that this outside one here will actually overflow to the next tank. So I've got caps on them to keep the water from exiting the tank. Well, when I get ready, I can just take that off, and I should put like some kind of glue, but I have not found a glue that would really work on these rubber trash cans. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to use with that. I've been using JB Weld, which does work, but there's not an awful lot of it. It's only like 2 ounce, and I've got such a big project here, 2 ounces is not enough. So that's what I've done with our garbage cans. And when I get it fully set up, I'm going to actually have a tank inside the house, so when it's cold, it will work just fine. Now there's a reason why I have that water tank outside of my house. Is because this pump is not able to suck water uphill. Now it is able to have good suction at 100 feet on the level, but when you're going 100 feet down to the pond, it will not work properly, and it will pull all the water that's in the water line out, and it won't bring in any more fresh water. So you barely need to have either a water source up high, like on a hill someplace, like a well and your house is down below, or a secondary pump to power that. And this is 12 volts DC, so when you're in an emergency, you really need to have some way to power, either with a power supply or a battery. And having to have both of these things running, have one coming from the pond or your well source, is going to be kind of a tough issue. Now, depending on how deep your well is or your pond that you're trying to get to, is going to make a difference. But these kinds of pumps were not meant to be used on long distances like I'm doing it. But it works if it's, like I said, if it's on the level, it's fine. So I can run 100 feet on the level, and I can just pull water from wherever I want to come from. But as soon as I try to go uphill, that's the problem. But it's not the pump. And I've tested it at 50 feet, and it does work fine coming from 50 feet. Actually, it has better suction at 50 feet than it does at 100 foot away. So that means that's why you're not getting as good water pull. Even if there's water in the line, it just doesn't seem to work. But like I said, these weren't designed for that particular operation. This was just meant for an RV, but this actually works pretty good for a power outage, and I've used it a bunch of times now since I've installed it to flush our toilet with. Now, one thing I want to mention here is with alternate water source. Let me show you my my pump wall again. So this filter here, I'm actually going to have another filter in line. Actually, it has. I just got another system that's a 3 filter system. And I'm actually going to get some filters that will filter out like bacteria and different things like that. And this sediment is 1 micron. And I've actually got in order right now a 0.2 micron water filter. And I'm actually going to have this all set up so that I can filter rotten water to be able to drink it and what have you. And it might not be totally 100% drinkable, but you'd have to boil it or something like that to be able to drink it. I'm not quite sure. But I do know that one of the other things I'm planning on to get for this pump system is a UV filter. Now, from what I've heard from other people that have UV filters, they work pretty good on filtering all sorts of toxins and viruses out of water. But the only thing that I have with that kind of a system is that takes more power. And what I'm trying to do is get things to work off-grid rather than to have to power up something else on my generator or have another kind of a battery to make 120 volts to power the UV filter. That is how I installed my emergency water system in my home. Now, before I let you get going on today's video, I have a few more things I want to show you. I have an update. While I was giving you the video demonstration, I had a package come. It was my new filtration system. So, off camera, I installed this, and now I'm going to show you what this is all about. So as you seen earlier in the video, that I had a single filter on this wall. Well, now I have put my 3-stage water filter system in. So let me explain what's going on in this water filter system here. The very first one that you see on the opposite side, not the one that's the closest near me, but the farthest away. That one is the line in where that valve comes in over here. So this is the output to my system. So the input over here starts out with the silt filter, which is a 1 micron filter. The second one is a carbon filter, which filters out odors, tastes, color in your water. And I can't remember what micron that one is. But the third filter is a 0.5 micron, which will filter out different bacteria and things like that. And that will, pretty much clean up your water. Now, I'm going to plan on putting another filter in here. They actually have one over here. So, like, this is my filter for my pump that comes with the pump. But I want to have another silt filter on this, on the incoming, so that this one doesn't get nearly as dirty, and but it will still collect other dirt and things like that. Now, maybe that might be overkill, but since I've got the housing, I'm going to just do it. Now, after watching this video, if you're like, okay, well, I really want to do that, what is needed to do this project? So I have out on my table all the tools that you need to do something like this. And I'll explain what the parts are so that you can go out to your favorite hardware store or website and order these parts and get it installed. To start off with, I've got my PEX water lines, both the red and the blue. So the red is hot, the blue is cold. And I first started out with the red because I couldn't find the blue, and eventually I found the blue, and I had to replumb everything, not rewire, but replumb everything so that it had the correct coloring. I mean, yes, you can use a red line for cold water, but it's recommended to use the blue because that is designed for cold water. Now, both PEX water hoses, Oh yeah, it's not really a hose, it's a pipe. If you want to get technical over here, the PEX water line, both the blue and the red, will use, can accept hot water. But this is PEX B, and I bought this PEX B because it was sturdier than PEX A. Now, if you do all your research on PEX lines, there's a bunch of different PEX lines out there, but I chose the PEX B for my installations. Here we are at my parts table, and I'm giving you kind of a wide shot of all the parts I have laid out, and it's just going to depend on what your application is, whether if you want to run it to your sink or your toilet. I don't have any spare toilet parts, so I can't really show you those. Those were just bought, but I had these for other projects. So let me give you a brief overview of what each thing does. You're going to need PEX cutters. That will cut anything from PEX to vinyl. And I bought the Milwaukee cutter. Yes, there are other cutters out there, but this one has replaceable blades, and that was the reason why I bought that one. Now, over here is plumbing tape. You'll need to have that for your connections when you're coming to water with metal parts. Like over here, I have this part, and I have plumbing tape around it so that it won't leak in the underneath the sinks or wherever my fixtures are that I am running. So the line, like I've kind of discussed that a few minutes ago, which is the PEX, but then there's also this type hose, and that is a reinforced vinyl line, which is good. So if you want to bend it, so let me get up here so I can show you. So I can actually bend this quite down really far compared to PEX. Even with this good size hose, I can't hardly bend it, like I can with this hose right here, where I can actually mold it and kind of shape it to where I want it to go. So if I want it to go down, it will just go down. Or if I want to get it straight again and just push it back. Well, this won't do that. I mean, this will still bend a little bit, but it's really rigid, which is good because it's not going to kink up as easy as, say, like something like this will. So the parts you'll also need, I mean, this is optional if you want to. Now I'm kind of going up and down and back and forth and all that. But this unit goes on a garden hose faucet. So you would need to have some adapter like this, for an example, that you could screw on here. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, so that you could actually put your PEX line, and then you would have to do the same thing over here with another adapter. So what this does is that this will reduce the pressure from whatever your pump is putting out, like 60 psi. You can knock it all the way down to 20 or 10 psi, depending on how fast you want your water flow. Now, for me, 60 psi is fine. I bought this because my first water system I put in, the water line was not able to handle the 80 psi I had on that 120 volt pump, like I showed you on other times. So now we need to look at what you need to do to put all this together. Now this is a 1/2 to 3/4 inch. So basically any household filter like this. Now you don't need to have something this big, but I didn't want to deal with the RV stuff. I just wanted some household standard stuff. So this is a 1 inch inlet and 1 inch outlet. So basically when you have a 1 inch inlet and outlet, this connector here is going to be 3/4 inch. That's ID, that's internal dimensions. But the So the internal dimensions of this is 3/4, and then the outside dimensions, that's OD. So the outside dimensions of this, that would be this thing right here. So this is let's see here. I think I got the wrong adapter here. Let me get the other one here. Let me show you better. All right, so this one here is the 3/4 inch outside dimensions for this 1 inch inlet and outlet. Now, I recommend, you know, so you can shut this thing off, so you can maintenance it. This is how my house is set up. I can show you that in a few minutes. So you want to have a 1/2 inch or one half. I keep saying it wrong. It's 1/2. Yeah, 1/2 inch. I'm not a plumber, so pardon my my language here with all that. But this is 1/2 inch PEX, and it goes into this unit. Now I got this one from my plumbing store on a very old setup, so this can actually, you can put different type of adapters on. This is not for PEX or there's no. It just goes on regular household pipes. So you can put your adapters on it, but I just used that because it was expensive and it was just kicking around. So to put this all together, you also need to have these clinch springs. Now I forgot to put them on my table here, but I can show you on this water line that I have. Now this is a clinch spring just like these are clinch springs. Now they just clinch once and then you have to have either a tool to take them off. I have found that I just use my grinder, and you got to be very careful that you don't ding your metal parts and go through the plastic tube there and ding the metal connector. But it will grind off that perfectly, so you can get your part retrieved. So here, let me get a better view here. So these are actually hose clamps, so that you actually put them, you screw them down with a wrench or a screwdriver. These are only good for the vinyl line. Now my first mistake I ever did with the PEX here is I used these. Well, these didn't go down far enough, and they weren't reliable enough to be reliable. I mean, you couldn't, because one time they weren't leaking, and the next time they were leaking. So they aren't meant for PEX. Now, talking about PEX and vinyl, that's a whole nother. Those are two different animals. So over here, let me show you something. So I've got this type connector, which is PEX, and this one here also is PEX. Now this here is, this is 1/2, 1/2, and 1/2 inch barb connectors. Now there's a difference with thickness with the this connector that's a 1/2 versus a PEX 1/2. Sorry, I'm not getting this video thing. I'm trying to do it with I'm trying to show you with my one hand and try to hold the camera with the other. So there's a difference between PEX size 1/2 and vinyl tube 1/2 inch, and I didn't realize that until I started putting all this stuff together, and I had some of these other 1/2 inch to 3/4 connectors, and I call them threads. I don't know. There's a name on the internet. It's called NPT, or I don't know. I don't understand all that. I just call it a thread. And yet, I'll show you the difference here with the different size between PEX and vinyl. So my vinyl connector here will not work properly on this PEX line. Now let me see if I can get my hand out here far enough so I can show you this, that it won't go, well, let's see here. Which one is it here? Ah, this one. Alright. So this is basically like for vinyl, either reinforced vinyl or garden hose. So when I push down on this, let me get on this is my leaf, so I can't really give too much pressure on that or I'll break it. So if I push down on that, I cannot, for the life of me, get that to go on. You see how that is? But if I use the same connector on the vinyl, so I can just push it right down on that and it'll go right in, and I have no problem with that. So I can just push on that and it won't really come out unless I twist it. But you know, then with the actual PEX connector here, this thing will just slip right on. So I can actually just take that, let's see here, yeah, there it is. So I just push that right on, but this, now this connector right here will not fit on this PEX. This PEX one, I mean, but they're both the same, 1/2 inch, but there's just a little bit different thickness between the vinyl and the PEX. Now I have used the PEX on vinyl, the PEX connectors on the vinyl, but they're a little bit looser than the actual vinyl connectors. So you just want to make sure that your connections are secure, and you don't have to go extra, have things extra tight to make that secure. So that's just one word of warning before getting into this. So the other thing that you'll need is a one-way check valve. This is a 1/2 inch one-way check valve, and basically what that does is that it just keeps your water moving up to your fixture. It won't go backwards. So if you got something else coming in, like when you're gonna set this up to interchange between your toilet, between the main house and your open source water, you want to have these on there so that your open source water doesn't pollute your home well, because that will just go right back to the source. Now I really didn't explain about what this line is doing here. Now this is a sink line. So this will connect the actual, so this would be like from your water source in your home to merge your connections. Now I don't have the actual T over here, but I got one, but it's not the same size. Let me see if I can find it over here in my box of parts. Well, I found something else too that, I was talking about the hose clamps. So I wanted to get you, I found this, and I haven't found the other part I was looking for. But this is the actual hose clamp. Now this is bigger than what I need for these vinyl lines. But that's just to give you a kind of a brief look at what it is without it being on a vinyl line to start with. So right here is a T. This is actually the wrong size for my plumbing, but you need to get whatever size for your PEX. Whether it's a 1 inch, you need a 3/4 inch outer dimension T, or you have a 1/2 inch outer dimension T for your PEX. And like I said, you always want to use PEX parts on PEX plumbing. And I can't keep, I can't reinforce it any harder on that subject. But it just means that if you have the wrong parts, you won't be able to do it, or if it's the wrong parts, it won't work right. It's one or the other. It just won't have a tight seal, or you won't be able to put it in your line to start with. Now over here is my valve, and I wanted to just show you what the valve looked like. This is not open, but this is a PEX valve that I got off from eBay. And it's, that's just how it looks. And, then this is what it looks like when there's pipes on it. So that's basically all you need to do to get your plumbing setup going. I would suggest that you would do some research and get an idea, if you've never done plumbing before, to familiar yourself with the terminology and the parts before actually buying something like this. Because this is an investment, and you don't want it to ruin anything in your home structurally, in the walls, or you don't want to have water down in your cellar making a mess out of everything because it's leaking. So I hope that this video helped you get your emergency water system going. And even if it's not for emergencies, if it's just for fun and off-grid, I mean, I mainly did this for emergencies, but I've been tinkering around with this technology for a while before actually putting it in the home. And but just remember that you're always going to need to have some sort of a tank to hold the water for this RV pump, and somehow to pump the water in, or unless you're going to do everything on the level, like I said something earlier in the video about that. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video of Pushing Technology to the Limit. Adios for now.